All right, welcome back. Of course, this is the moment that all of us have been waiting for. And of course, remember, send in your questions. The number is 2442. That's 2442. We're talking about somebody who has, of course, been in the headlines. He came in as the youngest person to take up a commissioner's position. That's as far as the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights is concerned. He was also a student leader at the Moi University. And of course, right now, the people of Mombasa County have decided, hey, we want him as our senator. Hassan Omar Hassan Sarai, thank you. Good to see you. Absolutely.
And Mombasa, not the way it is spelled there. That's not spelling
Mombasa. Oh dear. We need to change
welcome.
Absolutely. And just as an icebreaker, April is a very special month for you. 1 year, your first anniversary.
Yes.
How's it so far?
So far, it's been a great 1 year of marriage. And I'm encouraging all young people, to take that commitment sooner than later. I got a little late in doing that. Wow. But I think the sooner you do it, the better.
Absolutely. On a lighter note, now that you're a senator and you're Muslim, are you likely to go the Dida way?
My wife might be listening.
But you're Muslim.
I think the aspect of having second, third, fourth is optional. And more and more, the general opinion is that stick to one as much as you have that right to have 2 or 3 others. And therefore, I am a person who will stay in a marriage, a monogamous marriage.
We'll be here in 5 years. And we'll the money you earn as a senator, we'll encourage you to have another one.
So, talking about politics, you floored bigwigs like Najib Balala. Amazing. Did you expect it? What was your strategy, by the way?
I think if you look at the general mood in this country, across the board, it had a lot more shift towards issue orientation. It had a lot more element of young across the board. So therefore, I'll be very honest, there were several factors working to our advantage. But also the bottom line I heard in Mombasa when I was doing my politics is that everybody was looking for someone who can defend the constitution, the rights of the people of Mombasa. And therefore, I think that the stint at the KNCHR was extremely helpful in giving you the public persona or profile that more or less captured the aspirations and the circumstances of the moment.
Mombasa politics has been dominated, particularly in financing. There's some top tycoons. Did you benefit?
But yeah, I did. I had very effective fundraising strategies. I had friends just like you and Mutegi and the rest of you who come in and support you in very big ways. What I did is we have a very strong middle class of friends, people who are in the various professional sectors, in banking, in business, in medicine, and other professional fields. And that was my first avenue of support. And I remember when I did my first fundraiser, I invited about 200 friends. And I set a ceiling or an objective of about 100,000 shillings. And in that first fundraiser, I was able to raise 11 million. So, because everybody comes with about 100,000 Kenyan shillings, some will come with less, some will not come at all. So I think the truth is we mobilize not only the popular vote, but we also mobilize the resources in our own unique but very, very effective ways.
Just looking at, you have a very elaborate website, by the way, and there's a statement that you said, you wrote, I will work with the county administration. Looking at, the differences, we have county commissioners, the governors, you have no problem with that?
I will work, the county administration is the county government. In the American sense, we call the administration, we have the Uhuru administration. We call the county, so in the county we have the Joho administration for now. So I think what happens is if you are a senator, your primary client is actually the county administration. And therefore it will be fallacious for any senator to tell you that I'm going to build you a road. That road has to come from the county so that you get resources from it. That's a senator who does not understand the legal and the constitutional framework of what the responsibilities of a senator is. So what I did is to say that I will work with the county administration to ensure that we achieve part of the goals of devolution.
There is an issue of the county commissioner. I raised this matter yesterday with Kindiki, and the kind of complaint that we are going to have a parallel government. We are having county commissioners who are, and the deputy commissioners and the chiefs who are running things contrary to what the governors are doing. Is that the case, or is it an assumption?
It's exciting by there to be in the Senate that we are in. I have classmates and friends like Kindiki. We have Gipchumba Markham, and we have the young Sang from Nandi County. We have Mele. So it's an extremely exciting Senate. I just hope we can deliver to the aspirations. The fact that we are youth means that then the challenge upon us is much higher. Even somebody, whenever I mention the list of young people, somebody also mentions Sonko. So our aspirations are captured broadly in the way Kenyans voted. I personally want to believe that firm statement by President Kenyatta yesterday, or the day before yesterday, actually meant that he is for devolution in letter and spirit. I know he's meeting the governors within the course of this week. I think we are really anxious about the outcome. The Senate defends devolution, and we shall defend that devolution in spirit and letter. I think whereas the county commissioners might be positioned for whatever general role, or if at all, because the restructuring could mean that you might not have them at all, but they must never be purport to share either an equal pedestal or to usurp the functions of the county administrations. And I think what happens for me is there will be facilitators in terms of the policies of the central government. If you look at the 4 schedules, which outlines what are the roles of the national government and the roles of the county governments, the central government's role is basically policy lately, the national government, whereas the county government is about implementation. So I want to believe that Uhuru and Ruto are totally conscious of the fact that this the Constitution provides for devolution proper, not delegation, and they will respect the court order in the first instance, and then work with the Senate in terms of how to improve the devolution structure and manage their national framework of how to implement their policies.
What about this attitude from the governors when they met and making outrageous demands? They want 3 cars, 20 security guards. They want to be called Your Excellency Governor. So Your Excellency. They want a flag. Surely, I think, is that servant leadership?
I think when, in fact, Chapter 6 talks about servant leadership. I think when you are making a justifiable demand, and you sometimes proliferate it with things that sound like they're out of context, you also lose on the substantive demand. I'm only a couple of weeks now or a month now shifted to the political society. You know, I was on the other end. We all entitled to bodyguards and all this kind of stuff. I have seen the euphoria. I lived for 5 years at the KNCHR without a bodyguard, even when it was available to me as a privilege. I did not feel that just by saying the right thing, you are actually threatened. In fact, even those who did not like what I said will sometimes call me and say, what do you propose then in the alternative? So I think there is a very big euphoria in the political society to look big. I think you must be big in your humility and big in your ideas. I think that's what is required. And I've seen part of this issues that really trend within the political society. I do believe that we need to add a little more humility. So what if you're senator? Do your job, and everybody will respect you for that. So what if you're governor? So I think we should not exaggerate what we are supposed to represent. In fact, accessibility is key. If you want to be elected, you have to remain as simple and as natural as possible. Absolutely.
Talking about politics, of course, you were in ODM, and then you decided to ditch it. You moved on to Wiper Democratic Party. Was that significant? How significant was that?
I got every reason to believe at that point in time that the ODM nominations at that time would be less than free and fair. And the empirical research we had, my strategy was partly guided by empirical research, showed that the choice of party, for as long as we remained in the Code Coalition, will not affect the general outcome. So therefore, rather than go and plunge yourself into destruction, I decided to just take a lateral move. And still, I knew that those who were advising us still believed, notwithstanding the shift to Wiper, we will still win, and win convincingly.
You are very close to Raila. What happened?
But I still remain close to him, even in the court coalition. You see, Raila doesn't necessarily manage the party for a structure. He definitely has great leverage and influence. But the way sometimes, I remember the events leading to the nomination were less than impressive. The nomination is coming up on Thursday. You are told of the polling centers have not been published by Monday. You ask, who are these guys? These guys look like people who belong to a certain political camp. So because of time factor, they are shifted to Kwale, to Kilifi, and then the Kilifi ones are shifted to Mombasa. And you ask, that's very weak-kneed in terms of an approach to solving democratic, perceptions of fairness. So I felt that since the research and the opinion supported the fact that we could win even in another party, why risk it at the ODM nomination and then come off as a bitter loser? In Kenya, hardly does anybody lose. Everybody always has a reason why he or she lost. Someone stole somewhere in one polling station, someone did this, someone did that. So I didn't want to get myself in that cacophony of people who were alleging all kinds of malpractices. So let me face them at the IBC day.
Mm-hmm. Just looking at the reasons why you decided to move from ODM to Wiper, according to the Star, January 18th this year, basically adds this other reason, that your conscience could not let you campaign for Hassan Joho, whom you said has integrity issues.
I talked to generally that I had people, I did not mention Hassan Joho, but I said largely that there were people with integrity issues, and that I felt that maybe for the time being, in terms of see whether somebody is voted eventually, or whatever the allegations, whatever the reasons, is a democratic choice of the people of Kenya. But you also, as a person, has a democratic choice on who you want to associate with. So I thought, for the purposes of maintaining my clear creed in terms of a clear campaign framework, I will not engage broadly with some of the actors on the ground. So, the critical question is, once democratic competition is over, whatever you felt about Uhuru Kenyatta, William Ruto, my governor, or anybody else, then must be buried, and you now must work towards the broader deliverables. Because all of you have a commonality. You promise the same constituency, and you must eventually deliver to it.
Just talking about that, of course, you're making it very clear that you're ready to work with any person, including Hassan Joho, right?
I am already working with Hassan Joho. He's the governor of Mombasa.
Absolutely.
Yes.
What about the integrity issues? What is it?
As I said, I did not point them to any specific person. But the truth is, I know there were issues that have been alleged about some of the political class in Mombasa. And I think in the last couple of weeks, months, even in the campaign forum, they did quite effectively in terms of addressing them candidly from their own point of view. You see, what happens is sometimes in Kenya, silence could mean a sense of guilt. So I think his campaign crafters were quite strategic in letting him, some of them, address those issues in the public forums. So they boldly talk about some of the allegations against them and allowed scrutiny or in their person and policies.
You have been a columnist, and of course you wrote an article that really raised a lot of concerns. What do Kibaki men know, or what are they planning? And it was basically seen as being purely bringing ethnic connotations. In fact, people are saying you should apologize for that. Of course, it was.
You see, if the NCIC did not think it, and all other legal practitioners at that time did not think it, I think the issues of ethnicity at that time within the Kibaki regime were real. In fact, some of us who have had the opportunity to send a bit of messages to the Uhuru administration is to tell them that there were several fatal national blunders that Kibaki did. And I think Uhuru, being the breed that he comes from, has the right opportunity to redress some of these issues. In fact, if Uhuru was to balance state, it will not be looked at as an anti-Kikuyu agenda. It will be looked at a man doing the right thing. In fact, he's the best placed person to mitigate some of the excesses of the Kibaki regime. And I remember, I hope Sir Charles will not take this unkindly. I once asked Sir Charles Jonjo supported my bid to, he endorsed me. He hardly endorses anybody in public. And when I had a discussion with him about Uhuru, he was of the view that Uhuru is an extremely fine gentleman with some of the best schooling in the world, and his worldview is internationalist and is not necessarily limited by ethnic Kakunism. So he says, as long as he does not surround himself with these perversive ethnic demagogues, he is likely to be the leader Kenya, who can take Kenya to the next level, especially as regards to ethnicity. And fundamentally, if Ruto talked about the impossible in the Kenyan political context, when we say we can never have a Luo president, Raila almost became president. In fact, he got overwhelming votes of the Kenyan people. When we say that this community cannot vote for this community. But I think what generally that should lay the foundation about Kenyans being able to transcend the issues of ethnic coloration or polarization. Because if that were then to be the case, Mokazi and I will stand no chance ever of leading this country. So unless it is purely on account of an agenda. And I come from an extremely, I think, the most cosmopolitan county in this country is actually Mombasa. People tell you, oh, I come from a cosmopolitan county because there are two tribes, one living at the next border. So it is, ours is, tell me a tribe that has no significance in Mombasa. None. You know, everybody enjoys large following ethnically. So when you come from a community, a county of Mombasa's nature, you must know how to navigate through the ethnic sensitivities, religious sensitivities, even racial. We have Mzungus, we have Arabs, we have Indians, we have, all kinds of races also represented in the Mombasa framework. So for you, you have to constantly be national in terms of what is your worldview about the most basic cardinal foundations of the Constitution. Justice for all, equality for all.
I agree with what you said about Uhuru being having no history of
villages.
Villages. I mean, school, where he went to school, where he went to college, the way he has handled himself, fine. Yes. But I have an issue with you referring to Sir Charles Jonjo. Is he the best person to make assessment of anything in this country?
No, he knows Uhuru at a personal level. You see, if I wanted an opinion about Mutegi, I probably will get it from Wakazi. I'll not go and get it from a columnist.
But he was not supporting Uhuru.
Yes, but he also believed that he is not as the person who notoriously represents an ethnic, persuasive, doministic kind of point of view. So I think, in fact, the person who does not support you is more likely to give fair judgment because he's more critical of you. So there is a likelihood if it is known that I do not support Mokazi and I give a fair comment about him, then Mokazi is a good man.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, let's go back to yesterday and the day before yesterday.
Yes.
There was this ceremony, and your principals decided to go to South Africa. And they came back yesterday. We asked them why they decided to boycott or whatever they did. And they just walked. What's your view about that action?
That's a personal decision. I think whatever logic or wisdom, it's a personal decision, and I will not want to second guess what the intention is. I saw the, we are what, the Facebook generation, or I saw the commentaries. I was following, but I also have an iPad, like Mokazi. Everybody does these days. Even the Chief Justice has an iPad and a stand. Yeah. So that said and done, I was constantly looking at what people were updating. A lot of Kenyans did feel that probably they should have been there. But I also understand the rationale behind their not being there. So it mitigates either way. Because their general point of view is that they also finally did demonstrate that they were not happy with the Supreme Court decision. So going to the swearing in on inauguration would have been a legitimacy process. So it depends on what point of view you held. But there were leaders from across the spectrum. So everybody decides to hold a point of view which needs to be respected. The others also argued that even Mitt Romney didn't necessarily attend Obama's inauguration.
Yeah. Yeah. Perhaps just to touch on something, of course, in your tenure at the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, you were responsible for putting in place the Commission's Witness Protection Intervention Program in relation to the post-election victims.
Yes.
And all that. So far we've been sort of entertained with the fact that witnesses are now backing down, recanting and all that. And it really takes us back to allegations that some of these witnesses were actually tutored or something.
By myself, that allegation is complete when you make it that way. Sometimes when you lead a certain process, it also comes with its hazards. And therefore you do everything in good faith. In fact, I keep saying, if this witness says he lied once, what stops him from lying a second time? In fact, that will always be my credibility test. You said you lied because Hassan told you. Why are you not lying now because somebody else told you? So that's always, in fact, that's going to be the line of attack, even in those forums of the court. I think if you looked at Katerina Trendafilova's judgment, rationale, these allegations of witness coaching were put before her. They dismissed them as having no substance or merit. And I think if we finally get to that trial, the theater will play out. I think people will now come sequentially. You see, I had responsibilities then, like I do have them now, to protect witness information, you take oath towards this sanctity. So you cannot engage your witness or a former witness in a public contest like in the media. So you wait for the forum, which is the legal forum. And I do believe if you said that I coached you to influence the ICC, so your forum will be the ICC. So I was hoping that those statements will be filed by to the ICC, that I was actually one of those coached, and not filed to the Kenyan CID department. Because you see, if I said that if it touches on the institution of the ICC, so I believe, you know, somebody was telling me yesterday, that it's very easy to call Uhuru and Ruto because they are fairly young. You know, when you're referring to the Kibaki, you always have to be conscious to say either Mzee or President, isn't it? So I believe even their legal counsels and themselves know that these allegations are not true. And I think we're here. And I believe that if these allegations are true, that will be the first line of attack in a legal defense. So I believe that it did not play out as boldly in the pre-trial hearings. I'm waiting to see what happens at the trial level. But I definitely, there will be a sequence of how every allegation will be rebutted. And I also have the services of good lawyers when we come to that point.
All right. Do you think that case will go anywhere? Kindiki thinks no.
I don't want to prejudge outcomes. But you, like I, are getting a little anxious over what appears to be the melting of the case in public domain. I think when you talk to many legal actors, they are becoming a bit concerned that these cases appear to be melting right in the theater of the public gallery, and therefore, my general view is that let's see how it gets there. I don't want to second guess, but I think your guess is as good as mine, because you see, everybody sees this pattern that is building. And in fact, people should be very hesitant to attack Bensouda. I think she's the one who's been trying to correct all these excesses. She's the one who's saying, let Mudawara go. Let this be done in a certain way. You see, when you're a deputy, the fact that your principal is doing good things doesn't mean you agree with him all the time, but he makes the decisions eventually, or she makes the decisions. And then when you come into the driving seat yourself, you feel that you need to steer the institution differently.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's just focus a bit on the issues in Mombasa. I mean, Mombasa County houses the second largest city in Kenya, Mombasa. Mm-hmm. And of course, Mombasa has always been seen as the tourism hub in the country. But we see the problem of drug abuse really taking a toll on young people, and the potential seems to just fade away.
I think even when our governor was elected, when I was elected, the first question the media asked me was about drugs. I think this is the first time in an inauguration speech I heard Uhuru Kenyatta talk about drugs. You know, there are three passionate issues for me that informs the idea that makes us tick in Mombasa. In the whole of Coast, there was a total rejection of Uhuru Kenyatta in the entire Coast. He only managed over 25% in Lamu County, and for reasons that there is quite a big constituency in Peketoni, which is ethnically Kikuyu. So, and 10% in one county, 11% in another, 9% in another. The second best performance was Mombasa with 23%. I think that should point out to Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto that there is a problem. But he mentioned three most important and fundamental issues for Mombasa. For me, governance is key. And he talked about fundamental rights. It's almost reminiscent of Obama's speech about freedoms and fundamental rights of every Kenyan. That was like a basic denominator. He talked about the issue of security vis-a-vis terrorism. He talked about the issue of drugs. And he candidly addressed a taboo issue with most of Kenya's political elite, land. So for me, I think I want to, if he comes and repeats that address in Parliament on the 16th, my intervention to it will be that we need to craft programs now beyond that. So the committees that deal with these kinds of programs must immediately intervene to see what proposals, including the National Land Commission, to see how we can resolve this problem. But we must change strategy in drug traffic, in the issues of drugs. I think I heard one of the, it's called, those people who use drugs, we call them Matejas in Mombasa. So, in fact, it was on Citizen TV, where he was saying he's a drug addict, and they should not be locked in. I believe that myself, that those who use drugs need to go for rehabilitation. Those who sell drugs are the ones who need to go to Shimona and community maximum. But in terms of changing the drug strategy, there must be both proactive and reactive approaches. Proactive in the sense that we have effective programs towards youth employment, social programs, education. These alleviate the situations people are in, so we have to be proactive. And then reactive, in the sense that we have to have a first-class security agency. In fact, a specialized force of both civilian wearing, uniformed and non-uniformed police officers that deal with the issue of drugs in this country. Civilians, your citizens cannot fight drugs as individuals. We must fight it as a government. So the activists are not the people to fight drugs. They're only supposed to advocate and get government action. Mexico has a very good framework of how to fight drugs, and interagency cooperation, the military, the intelligence, the police force, then ensure that they are well-resourced, well-equipped, and therefore they can fight drugs in a more meaningful and effective way.
Why is it that the Mombasa and the coast is a place that drugs are common? Why not Kisumu, Nakuru, and other urban areas? Why is it Mombasa?
Because it's a transit route. That's my general view. Part of the drugs that go into the international market find their way into the most immediate market, which is the coast of Kenya, and more particularly Mombasa and part Lamu, Malindi. And also I think the fact that they're tourist destinations. I know a number of tourists who come to Kenya, and the next thing they want to do, because they're excited about being in Kenya, and they think that these are areas where you can break the law and have the extreme level of fun, they will look also for drugs. So but I don't think that is the market that makes people wealthy. I don't think most of the people who are drug users in Mombasa, they go stealing small little effects to buy drugs. I think it's the European markets or the Western markets that are the most profitable in terms of the drug chain. That's why everybody wants to ensure that they get their drugs to the UK, to the US, and areas of that nature. That's where the kids have $20 to buy a little tablet.
And of course, from drugs, we move on to prostitution. I mean, it was, you go through features like Axis of Death, Flesh of My Flesh. In fact, you look at them and you get the realization that even people are moving from other places to just go to Mombasa to engage in prostitution. How's that?
And then again, because of the tourism sector. Because Many Kenyans can get a
I
woman.
don't even know other tourists. Even when they go to North Coast,
Yes.
in Twapa,
Yes.
they're not tourists who are there. They are Kikuyus and people from country who go there to it's like very few prostitutes in hotels there. Very few.
No, but the truth is, part of the bigger market will be basically that leisure market.
Yeah.
People, even the domestic tourists,
Yeah.
the Kenyan who comes with an extra dime to spend, might just decide to go to the streets and pick somebody. You know, people think when you're a black person you cannot be a tourist. It is not true. There are so many tourists. The reason why Hirsi and the hotel industry is surviving is partly because of the domestic tourism. And the truth is, there are Kenyans with money. You tell them it's 30,000 this season, and they're paying. If you look at what the tourists pay in comparative terms to what they earn, I mean, their cost standards of living, it's peanuts. I used to tour, at my time at the KNCHR, I used to tour European capitals. And you'll find that it's 700 euros a night. In Kenya, that's what the tourist will pay for his entire trip in Kenya. So, entire 1 week at the White Sands or any other place. So, the truth is, the tourism sector provides fodder for this. But what we need in terms of addressing the prostitution problem is not only tough laws, but we also need a system that removes and creates hope to our people, so that our young girls do not have to sell their bodies for gain. So therefore, it's just not about cracking them. It's about giving them alternatives. And I think the issue of employment it serves as the fundamental hope for the young people of Kenya.
What do you think about the port?
The port.
Yeah, there's been controversy about whether it's privatized and controversy about whether it belongs to the coast, whether it's a national asset.
We have to sit down and have a strategy with all the county leaders. First and foremost, we believe that the port must benefit Mombasa. Whether it's a national asset or local asset, it must primarily benefit its most immediate constituency, and that's the people of Mombasa. For me,
it is inefficient.
There are various methods. Right now, there's a lot of talk about increasing the efficiency of the port, the time of transfer of containers to their destinations. So I think, and when you have to deal with it, the transporters, you have to deal with the clearing agencies, because people have acclimatized to a situation. The part of the inefficiency benefits a chain of service providers and business people in Mombasa. So what we need to do is to make those tough decisions. Where I believe, one of the things someone was telling me just in passing about Uhuru is that, in Kiswahili ametosheka. I don't think Uhuru will be looking for small little monies from clearing agencies. No. So he has the effect.
Maybe people close to him. Not necessarily. Kibaki was not the same, but we saw people who were close to Kibaki.
We need to rein in.
Yeah.
We need to ensure that we modernize the port, we make it competitive. In fact, we don't have a choice. The port of Lamu is coming up very, very soon. So Mombasa will be challenged for once. Even in terms of its efficiency, the only reasons is its modernization that can create its leadership position. So, what I think is my general view is that we want to have a blueprint in terms of moving the port to greater efficiency and profitability. But then that general view also comes with the fact that a substantial amount of the revenue from the port must, of essence, remain in Mombasa.
Perhaps the final word in relation to moving forward and people who perhaps feel. For instance, the Mombasa Republican Council, who feel, our rights have not been regarded for so long, and we just don't want to be part of this great move. What is your final word?
I've said it and I've said it again. Mombasa Republican Council must move from secession to concessions. It's a pipe dream. Mombasa is going nowhere. It will remain part of Kenya. They will never ever secede. So, and therefore, that strategy of secession is a futility. I personally enjoy the fact that I'm Kenyan. I mean, I have had my share of excitement being a Kenyan, proud in the international arena, proud in the local arena. I have been able to compete with any other Kenyan effectively. I think what we need to do is to give hope. And I think the messages are very clear. Mombasa and Coast did not vote for Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. There is a reason. And those are some of the most critical reasons that they must address. issues of land, historical injustices, equity, balance in the frameworks of government. And I do believe if they're able to just be able to run that agenda, they will disarm the agenda of the MRC. And I want to give them hope. I don't think I agree also with the handling of the MRC by the government. Now the elected leadership had made certain promises that they will deal with the MRC in a manner that brings them out of their hiding and tries to address the issues. Just by every time telling us that these deaths were questioned by MRC does not help. So in fact, I want the provincial commissioner to tone down his first a parallel structure to the structures that have been established. Let us engage in these issues and resolve them. If they could have resolved this problem, they would have resolved it ages ago. They use the same strategies and get nowhere. So they say the height of madness is to do the same thing repeatedly and expect different results. So we have to do it differently. There's a task force that is trying to collect views on the grievances of the coast. Let us use those recommendations to effectively mainstream government policy and government program towards the coast of Kenya. And when I talk about government, that includes the elected leadership. We're all part of government in the various arms.
Powerful. Hassan Omar Hassan, Senator, Mombasa County. We'll be right back.